Heretic is the new horror thriller movie that just came out November 8th of this year, and it was directed by both Scott Beck and Brian Woods. And I had to watch it because I heard that it was controversial. And anything that's controversial in a movie, you know you gotta watch it. Now, before I begin with the review, I gotta say real quick, this is the last video for this year's horror marathon for this channel, where I basically, as the name implies, the title implies, I just go through a horror marathon reading nothing but horror books and watching horror movies. So yeah, it is the end of that horror marathon. And not to worry, I'm not just gonna not read any more horror books or not watch any more horror movies, because I love horror and I'm gonna always go back to horror. But the marathon is over. Now, the first thing I want to say for this review: one, spoilers. Two, this movie wasn't scary. It really wasn't that scary, and honestly, putting horror in front of it doesn't really describe it well. The only real scary part out of the entire movie was when the prophet came downstairs and she was standing behind Paxton. That was pretty much the only scary part out of the entire movie, in my opinion. Their situation was scary. Obviously, if you were stuck in a house with this random guy and there was no way out, of course the situation would be terrifying. But the movie, as a movie, it wasn't scary. And although it wasn't scary and most of the film was just conversations, it was still compelling and interesting and controversial. Mr. Reed is taking jabs at all of the religions, the major religions in the world, basically calling them, copies of each other. And of course, Mr. Reed is doing that because he's trying to find the true religion. Now, in my personal opinion, whether you're atheist or you believe in a religion, whatever religion you're in, I think that it's important to at least think about these questions once in your life. You don't have to have conversations about religion and all that stuff, but at least ask yourself these questions about religion, all the different religions. Hey, even if you're atheist, I feel like what goes on in this movie should be something that you should think about at least once in your life. At least once. I have thought about these certain things before in my life. I follow a religion, and the question was, I'm part of this religion. This religion says that it's the only true religion out there, and if I want to go to heaven, this religion is the only way to heaven, right? And that really got me thinking. That message really got me thinking, and I thought, well, there's, at least two other big religions out there. Like, my religion isn't the only religion out there. And it made me think about the millions of people that believe in this and these other religions. I thought to myself, can all of these people be wrong? Like, how can so many people follow this other religion while myself and these millions of people follow this other religion? How is this happening, right? That was what was going on in my head when I was thinking about these sort of things. And honestly, contrary to what people might think, I feel like it got me closer to my religion. I think it can get you closer to your religion, asking these questions, because ultimately we're all trying to find the same thing: the truth, what's after death. And that is what this movie is all about. Now, that was just me going on a whole spiel over this, and that's one of the reasons why I like this movie so much, is because it got you thinking about religion, about death, about everything. But anyway, going back to the movie, I felt like if I was in their situation, the movie would have ended a lot quicker. The moment I realized that the pie that I was smelling, the pie, was actually the scented candle, from that moment on, I would have been suspicious. I would have confronted Mr. Reed. If I would have waited for him to come back and be like, hey, what's up with the candle? Where's your wife? And that would have been the end of the movie. They were just too nice. They were just too nice to Mr. Reed. This movie here is the type of movie that you need to watch at least twice to get all the details, or research the details, which is what I did. And from what I read, there are two different endings, right? Or at least the ending can be interpreted in two different ways. In one ending or one interpretation, you can see that Sister Paxton survives, right? She survives at the end of the movie. Sister Barnes actually does come up and save her from Mr. Reed. She jumps out the window and she's safe. And her looking at the butterfly at the very end of the film, that butterfly was Sister Barnes, because Sister Paxton mentions that if she were to die, she would turn into a butterfly and land on the finger of her loved ones to let them know that she's all right, that she has passed away and that she's all right. So that's one ending. The other ending, you have Sister Paxton actually die, right? She dies after being stabbed by Mr. Reed, and everything she sees from there on out is only a hallucination. She only hallucinates Sister Barnes coming and saving her. She doesn't really jump out the window. And when the movie ends, that's when she actually dies. And that's something that I very much liked about the movie, because it left room for conversation, right? Everyone is going to have a different opinion about the ending. Everyone is going to interpret it differently, not just about the ending, but the topics that they go over, the conversations that they're having, the questions that they're having. I think it's a movie that people can really get deep into in a conversation. So overall, I felt like this movie was a good movie. It wasn't scary at all. It was a thriller movie. You know, there was a lot of tension in the movie. The moment they step into Mr. Reed's house, you could feel the tension, because you know as a viewer that Mr. Reed is not a good guy. He's trying to lure them in, and the deeper they get, the more tension there is. But it wasn't scary. I wouldn't really call it a horror movie. So overall, I feel like it was a good movie. It wasn't great. It was just a good movie, not scary, and pretty interesting and compelling. So that was it. That was my review of Heretic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time I finish a movie or a book.